Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 13 and we want to present about cultural adjustment of American students in Thailand. My name is Kamila and my partner Difta, Millenia, Febrianti. Definition of cultural adjustment. When individuals leave their own culture and move to another, they naturally carry their own background and life experience with them, or people's reactions to the new culture and how well they adjust to living in it.
Next is the function and the purpose of cultural adjustment. Cultural adaptability empowers us to work around potential challenges to find the best outcome. Not only is this important in international communication, but even individual teams can benefit from learning how to adapt communication for cultural differences in varied professional situations. Besides, cultural adaptation is also needed for some aspects in our life. For instance, in the way we do business is essential for companies operating in foreign markets with cultures different from our own country. Such adaptation efforts must take place in all major areas of company activity for them to be effective.
Stages of cultural adjustment. Adjustment to any new situation or culture is not accomplished in just a few days, but is rather an ongoing process over time. Following are four stages of cultural adjustment. They are honeymoon, hostility, humor, and at home. First step is the honeymoon stage. This stage is characterized by happiness, anticipation, and excitement. It's like everything is new, such as the dream to study in Thailand is coming true. This is an exciting time in all of your enthusiasm. Frequently smile to indicate this stage. The second step is the hostility stage. During this time, you have periods of great frustration, anger, anxiety, and sometimes depression. Following the initial excitement has confrontation and the awareness of speaking and listening to foreign language every day. Sleep patterns may be disrupted. You may suffer from indigestion and be unable to eat. Often your reaction is to reject the new environment in which you feel discomfort. There may be anger over minor frustrations, fear, lack of interest, and lack of motivation. Third step is the humor stage. This stage follows when you begin to relax in a new situation. This step, more relaxed state of being occur after you have made some friends, learn to manage the complexity of the environment or school, and easily understand what we need. The last step is the home stage. In this stage, you will find yourself here as you are able to return an elegance to your home culture, but also feel at home in your newly acquired culture. In this step, you have successfully adjusted to the norms and standards of the culture.
Next is how to adapt or adjust to different culture. 1. Keep an open mind. 2. Learn about the culture and language beforehand. 3. Make new friends or acquaintances. 4. Get involved in local activities. 5. Keep a journal to write down thoughts and experiences. 6. Get to know your host. 7. Don't let language barriers discourage you. And 8. Explore your surroundings. And next is the culture in Thailand. Thailand lies between Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos, with the Gulf of Thailand to its south. The culture in Thailand is a mix of strong Indian influences, Chinese traditions, and elements that are uniquely Thai. Much of Thailand's culture comes from ethnic Thai people. One of the most important influences on culture in Thailand is Buddhism. Many of the traditions and beliefs of the people in Thailand stem directly from Buddhist principles. Hinduism has also made important contributions to Thai culture, and the close links between Thailand and India can be seen in art, literature, and in many Thai customs. Next is the culture in America. The culture of the United States of America is primarily of Western origin, but it is influenced by a multicultural ethos that includes African, Native American, Asian, Pacific Island, and Latin American people and their cultures. It has its own distinct social and cultural characteristics, such as dialect, music, arts, social habits, cuisine, and folklore. And the next is the differences between Thai culture and American culture. Actually, there are many more about the differences between these two cultures, but I'm gonna highlight the main differences between Thai culture and American culture. First, religion is far more obvious in Thailand than in America. Although religion plays a role in American culture, it is far less obvious than the role played by Buddhism in Thailand. Second, the extended family in Thailand is more evident than in America. People in America tend to be more self-sufficient and less dependent on others. In Thailand, however, there is a great deal of value placed on the group, which means that nuclear families tend to live with parents and other extended family members. Third, young Thai kids don't fly the nest as early as American kids. In American culture, great value is placed on individuality, which means that many kids leave home at a fairly young age to make their way in the world or to attend university. While in Thailand, leaving the family at a young age is really rare. However, in Thai culture, as most kids stay with their families until they marry. It's extremely unusual to see a young Thai person living it up with their friends in a flat share in a city. It happens, but it's not common. Next is cultural adjustment of American students in Thailand. First, the Farang bubble. This Farang bubble means that most students have limited interactions with Thais and a lack of Thai friends. Most students reported making Thai friends. However, the overall results are that the closest friends, as well as the friends who American students spent the most time with, were other American students. It may also suggest that the accommodations provided are not helping students adjust as they are surrounded by many other foreigners. Second, language barrier and socializing with Thais. The issue of language as a barrier or obstacle to American students was another common theme. Since Thai is not a global language, most of the students have never spoken in Thai beyond a few words or phrases prior to their arrival. On average, Thai people's English abilities are very low. However, this depends greatly on where in the country one is. Thai people in Bangkok and tourist destinations typically speak a higher level of English than those in other areas. The setting of the university that our group discusses is a suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of Bangkok. Therefore, other than people in the university and the associated community, English ability is often quite low. This can become an obstacle for students who are trying to interact with locals. The most common social interactions American students discuss related to interactions with local vendors and service providers such as in restaurants or cell phone stores. Ordering food was reported to be very difficult when restaurants did not have menus in English or pictures.
Travel and tourism. Thailand is a very popular tourist destination. Several students in the study explain that one of the main reasons they came to study in Thailand was the travel opportunities within the country and neighboring ASEAN countries. The language barrier in Thailand was not reported to be a very big issue when traveling in tourist areas. However, when participants travel to less popular destinations, the language barrier becomes much more of an obstacle. Overall, travel was reported to be a very positive and important motive for American students, while travel within Thailand may be more convenient than other locations. It is also possible that travel may help with the process of adjustment, as it may help familiarize American students with different regions of Thailand, which lends to greater exposure to a variety of custom, food, language, and so on. University life. Adjusting to university life was reported by the majority of participants to be relatively successful, yet several stressors were highlighted, such as many of participants comment on the number of group presentations, the emphasis of examination, and the longer class times. These three areas of academic adjustment were reported as the most problematic. The final barrier within the adjustment to university life was the length of each of the class. Many Thai universities have class once a week for 3-hour block or twice a week for 90 minutes. This is apparently longer than the American students experience in their home programs. And then local transportation. When asked how students typically commute to university and the surrounding area, the most common form of transportation were the van service provided by their housing and taxi service. In this case, just as with the traveling in Thailand and around Southeast Asia, the students went online and booked their taxi through various applications. While Uber is the application of choice in the United States, and Grab is the most commonly used ride-hailing application in Thailand. This reflects the use of application and technology to assist in what would otherwise be a potentially stressful barrier to adjustment. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.